I'm going to give you 60 seconds, okay? And in 60 seconds, you're going to tell me what is decision intelligence and how does it fundamentally differ from traditional business intelligence.
Okay, my disclaimer, I'll take more than 60 seconds. If you look at AI, it's been there since 1960s. The ecosystems is more complex. Decision making is more decentralized. It's very difficult to use the same testing paradigm that we have been used to in the past. We have seen science fiction movies where AI comes and starts destroying mankind in a very spooky way. I think that's not going to happen.
Hope not.
That's not going to happen. I think the human race is good enough to, we have tackled complex situations in the past and we'll tackle this too. Looking at where we are today, if we don't implement these, I think decision intelligence will not work.
Hi everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Simulated Podcast. I'm thrilled to have Gurbans Chatwal, Vice President of Innovation and Automation at Fiserv. Welcome, Gurbans.
Thank you so much, Purvi. Delighted to be here in your office.
You're most welcome. I hope Bangalore traffic is not something that you experience for the first time. I mean, coming from Pune, I do understand it could be a little challenging.
Today it was good.
I'm glad. So, I actually wanted to find out, you wanted to speak on future of decision intelligence. So what could be the reason, you chose this topic?
Today we sit on a lot of data. And right from our personal devices to enterprise ecosystems, you produce a lot of data. So as of today, data is not a problem. But decisions are a problem because we have a lot of dashboards, fast dashboards. We have automated reports. We have smart models. But at the point where choices are to be made, decisions are to be made, the process slows down. And therefore, decision intelligence is an end-to-end framework which should help us to kind of, improve that end-to-end cycle for more decisions per unit time.
Okay. So you mentioned about slowing down. So how does it slow down companies? And would you have some real-time examples that you want to share?
So we spoke about, we're talking about decisions, the points of decisions getting slowed down. So these are also siloed. Right. And because of that, what happens is you start creating what is known as decision debts.
Okay.
Very similar to technical debts, but these are decision debts. But the data is not slowing down. There's a continuous flow of data. And the data continues to grow at a pace which is beyond our ability to convert it into decisions. And that's what creates a decision debt. And it is a decision debt which starts accumulating because the data is flowing in, but the decisions are slow. So the decision debt starts accumulating, and it's kind of unseen in the organization. It's not very visible, but it kind of quietly taxes the organization. It kind of taxes anything and everything that you want to scale in the organization. So, that's where the pinch comes in, because of decision debts. And there are patterns you can see actually. You can observe if you step back. For example, there could be a gap between policy to action. You have your rules defined, but no one is taking actions on it. There could be a model to policy gap. So you have a model, could be an AI model. When I say model, so think about an AI model. You have a model which gives a number, a confidence score, but there are no crisp actions defined in terms of what should I do with an if then after that. So, there is a policy, there's a rule defined, but actions are not happening on it. Interestingly, in large organizations also what happens is, on the fringes of the organization, you see that the recommendations that are coming from the central enterprise are kind of overridden. And this can happen because they are not clear or the decision framework is not clear. So on a scale which is geographic, distance-wise, so I'm far from the center, or I am on a time scale. Maybe I'm working on shifts, or maybe I'm in a geographical different area. I start overriding recommendations, and therefore it becomes a chaos. So you don't see the same, you see inconsistencies across the organization. And then, of course, we all know, there are dashboards everywhere. We thought that dashboards will help us to kind of drive action, but that's not happening in organizations at the moment. So we have a lot of dashboards. We have a party of charts. Systems and people are drunk with data, but there is no one who is kind of given the responsibility or the accountability of a decision. So either multiple people sitting on the same decision, or no one sitting on a decision that is to be made. So that creates an issue.
All right. So having said that, a quick question. I'm going to give you 60 seconds, okay? And in 60 seconds, you're going to tell me what is decision intelligence and how does it fundamentally differ from traditional business intelligence?
Okay, my disclaimer, I'll take more than 60 seconds. So decision intelligence engineers how decisions are made, how decisions are monitored, and how they can be improved end to end. So that's decision intelligence. But there are blurred lines, and there could be confusion between. So what is business intelligence? Business intelligence looks more in the past. It's like looking at the rear view mirror. It looks at the past data in terms of what my performance was. So it gives you performance based on your past data.
Yeah.
And there's a blurred line again here, because some people say business intelligence plugged in with AI could also give you forward-looking stuff. We'll come to that. Hold on for a second. And then you said machine learning.
Yes.
Machine learning is a predictor, right? So it predicts my future numbers. It's basically a probability prediction. I mean, you could predict confidence scores. You could predict which category data belongs to. You can even predict the next word and write beautiful emails. But at the core of it, it is just prediction. Decision intelligence is an end-to-end flow. So you start from signals in the organization, and I'm assuming that you have already filtered out noise and signal. So you have good signals.
Yes.
From signals, you go to models. From models, you then go to policies with constraints. From policies and constraints, you go to actions. Actions, you go to, there's a feedback that happens from actions.
Yeah.
And from the feedback, there is learning and governance. Now, if you look at the complete cycle, that is decision intelligence. And at the heart of it, that differentiates between a business intelligence and just a machine learning is the embedding of policies with constraints. Because every business, irrespective of the data that you have and models that are running, what you actually need are rules, governance based on certain policies, decisions to be made. And you also need to, you're not operating in a vacuum, right? You have certain business constraints around you. I mean, I come from a fintech world, so there could be KYC and AML kind of regulatory constraints. There could be business constraints like, what should be the liquidity ratios I should maintain? What should be the cap on capital and so on? And there are also certain ethical and ESG constraints. For example, I need to be fair in my lending process. I need to avoid algorithmic bias. So these are the constraints that come in. So decision intelligence has this at the heart of it. Policies codified and embedded in the life cycle of decisioning, and that makes it different.
That's I think it's very informative. Now what is business intelligence? Okay, now we're going to talk about what are the current technology trends, or I would also say business dynamics and regulatory shifts that are making decision intelligence a commercial necessity in 2025.
So we have all seen LLMs and agentic AI. So these are like buzzwords today.
Yeah.
What we also have seen is, the compute is becoming cheaper year over year.
Okay.
Even if I'm using LLMs, or any kind of AI, the inferencing is becoming cheaper year over year. it's not just becoming cheaper, but it's also becoming smaller. So
Okay.
I had large language models. I have smaller language models. I can have micro language models. I can have these intelligent models on the edge computing devices also. But because of that, I can also kind of embed them in my products.
Okay.
I can embed them in my workflows now. So one dimension is the whole dimension of cost and scalability. Smaller models, efficient models, and available at a much cheaper cost that allows me to take decisions where the product is interfacing with the customer or where the process or the workflow needs to take the decision. So you don't have to take the decision out into a central governance team. It can happen where the process or the product needs to take a call. Second is regulations are becoming better. I mean, 2 years back, we didn't know where should I apply my human judgment, whereas where should I apply the AI judgment? What happens? Where would the data leaks happen? Would I kind of break through the barriers of data privacy? Yes, no, it's not sure. But with the EU Act, I think the general obligations become applicable August next year. We have a DPDP Act coming up in India. So the regulations are becoming clearer. So when regulations are clear, I can actually code them better. I can actually define my guardrails better. So it kind of makes it safer for me to kind of implement these kind of intelligence in the system. These are some of the things that kind of, making it viable. And we also know that even the people who hack systems are using the same technology. So it's a kind of a race between who has a better system.
Yeah.
Whether you want to defend yourself better or you want to let someone else break into your system. So, having embedded this intelligence, decision intelligence within where it is needed, just kind of more viable now.
Since we're speaking about technology trends like generative AI or autonomous agents or even digital twins, how is it that this is reshaping our enterprises in decision making? How is it reshaping it?
So if you look at AI, it's been there since 1960s. AI is, you have vision, you have speech to text, you have ML models, you have deep learning, and so on. So it's been there from 1960s. It has evolved. It has had its AI winters, but it's come around because of the compute available and so on. So as of today, I think there's no dearth of models. We have the models.
Yeah.
What we need is the technologies that you mentioned, like GenAI and agentic. We need these kind of technologies to kind of rewire how we do decision intelligence. So, for example, I'll take each one of them. You said GenAI.
GenAI.
So, what would GenAI do from a decision intelligence perspective? Just from the nature of the way GenAI works, it expands my decision space. So now I can, look at the context, which is a little messy, unstructured. I can use GenAI to derive cleaner signals out of it, right? For example, suppose I lend to a small and micro segment. I can use GenAI to, maybe pick up data which is coming from account aggregators and GST with all the case notes. I can read that data and I can draft my rules around how I should kind of, create my lending rules for small and micro segment. Because that data is available. That data is a little messy with all the case notes, but GenAI expands me to do that. That decision space is expanded. Then there is agentic. Your agents, because from the agency, agents are kind of working within the workflows or within the products and taking the decisions, and they're autonomous, right? So they crush the decision execution cycle time. So something that would have taken 2 weeks can be done much faster now. So that collapse happens. And it's so much better for a customer that way. So for example, customer walks in, say suppose it's a digital walk-in, and a customer is looking for a credit line increase. You can have an agent look at the model score, understand what the policies and the constraints are, take a decision, and very quickly make a decision whether this customer can be given a credit line increase or not. Vis-a-vis, in the earlier flow, the model gave me a confidence score, and then an email went to 2 people who then sat on the decision for 2 weeks and then took a decision, but by that time the customer had moved on. So in the previous examples, all my regulatory boxes are ticked. I did all the right things, but the customer went out. So, you sometimes don't take the yeses in time, you lose revenue. Or sometimes you have inconsistent no's, and therefore the losses are high, and your customer feels that this company is not reliable, so your brand suffers. So the agentic is kind of really helping you there. What was the third technology you had mentioned?
Digital twins.
Digital twins. Not many organizations use it, but absolutely essential when you get into the decision intelligence and agentic framework, because you're wanting the systems to take decisions, and you're wanting the systems to also learn from decisions, but you can't just design, and the human mind is not capable always to kind of look at that level of complexity and be able to kind of code every if and then. So what you need is a digital twin of the organization or the business process, because this allows you a safe space to test your applications, test your guardrails without impacting the customer. And once you're confident that it's working, there are not too many escalations happening. There are no guardrails being broken. So once that confidence is there, then you can you can get into the cannery of releasing the products to large scale and so on. So these 3 technologies, I think they will rewire how decision intelligence happens. But there's one more on the horizon.
Okay.
I've been working on quantum lately. So
absolutely.
I cannot but not bring in quantum, and also being a physicist at heart. So quantum, it's being researched. It's available, but still not production scale. And it will take time before it really becomes mainstream. But I think it has reached a level where I can use it as a competent bench. Or if you're in a consulting organization, you'll call it a beach, not a bench. So whenever a process finds itself at a point where there is a very high dimensional data, where the combinatorial complexity is very high. For example, I have to do some routing algorithms, or I have to do some, a treasury needs to look at, explore allocations overnight to be able to take the decisions next day, or I want to do a portfolio rebalancing. So these are like very high dimensional data. So this is where you will find a hybrid approach where there's a classical and quantum comes together, and you can get very quick answers from quantum, which can be fed into the classical machines, and the process carries on. So quantum is on the bench as a competent bench, and you will tap into it whenever your combinatorial complexity is high. But I think it's on the horizon, and we should keep a watch on it.
Yes. So I think, quantum is something that we'll have more content to speak about in due course of time.
Would love to come back on that.
We'll do another podcast on that part of it, only quantum.
Absolutely.
So moving to my next questions. When enterprise boards demand both speed and control from decision intelligence, what are the real steps from today's co-pilots to coordinate teams of AI agents in production?
So we are talking about not just one agent, we're talking about a team of agents. So we're talking about orchestration of agents.
Yes.
We're also looking at a swarm of agents which work with each other. So you're moving away from one central brain. We were always used to, an applications being one central brain to running our workflows, processes, automation. But now you have, multiple brains which are kind of, taking the decisions on their own. So you have to keep that in mind as you start building your applications. You will also have agents which are specialized. So one agent can check on the other agent. So an agent is taking a decision to lend to customers. Maybe it is going wrong, or maybe it is taking wrong decisions because some of your guardrails or some of your policy constraints are not well defined there. But there could be another agent which is looking at business growth and seeing that the lending that is happening over a period of time, is it adding to the business growth, or am I kind of carrying more cost?
Right.
So there could be an agent which is looking at the business growth and looking at how the business is being run. There could be an agent which is taking financial decisions, and there is another agent which is on the risk agent, which is checking whether the financial decisions are being taken correctly. So there's also expert agents that need to be defined. So we need to keep this in mind, because this is a really paradigm shift in terms of how we have built applications in the past to what we are doing now. Couple of things that you need to keep in mind, and I think I will only highlight a few steps which are, I think, difficult and which we have not done so well in the past. We have not codified our policies in the past. Now we need to. We need to establish guardrails. We need to look at, what are my business constraints that I need to operate within. What are the policies under which I'm taking decisions, rules there? If I don't codify that, I will still not be able to kind of, get to the ideal state or to the most effective state of how decision intelligence should be. So that needs to happen. Secondly, I should be able to simulate well, and that's where digital twin comes in. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
The ecosystems is more complex. Decision making is more decentralized. So it's very difficult to use the same testing paradigm that we have been used to in the past. So that's where I feel that having a digital twin, and this is not the same as backtesting. Backtesting kind of looks at just the past data. This is like digital twin, which is really forward looking, and it's running in parallel without actually harming or the customers or any of your end results. But that allows you to kind of rehearse in real time.
Yeah.
That's absolutely essential. These two things absolutely critical in terms of how you go forward. These are the things that we have not done in the past in terms of implementations. Other things in terms of how do I make sure that the change management happens in the organization? How are the implementation cycles defined? How do I start small and then scale up fast through iterative cycles? Because I might not be able to start with a big bang in the start itself.
Yeah.
So understanding the intents that I'm coding in the agents, and then how am I increasing the intents, that's absolutely critical.
Looking 5 years ahead, what do you see as greatest ethical or strategic risk for companies adopting decision intelligence at scale?
So 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 years, I have realized, based on my experience, it's very difficult to predict. I have not been a good predictor. But we will start with, where we are today. And let's look at what will happen. So we have seen sci-fi movies, and we have seen AI going rogue.
Yeah.
I think that will not happen. We will not have models going rogue. But we can have models which very obediently and very quietly start optimizing the wrong decisions.
Right.
So that's something that we need to be careful about. So a couple of points that I can highlight. So number one, I'm very happy that there are multiple models, multiple agentic frameworks that are floating around. These are optionalities that would be good for organizations. There are many organizations that just want to go with one model, one framework because of risk it exposes them to.
True.
But I think if you will have multiple models, you will make sure that if one model has an error and everyone is using that model, that error can just amplify into a catastrophe. So you want to avoid that. So, go diverse on your agents and go diverse on your models, number one. Number two, you need to make sure that while you have good signals, you have good models, you have good policy and constraints, what's very important is to have very strong feedback loops. There is no system in the world which learns without a feedback.
True.
Right? So if you do not have feedback systems, you will not have models that will learn well. For example, I can be taking decisions, credit line decisions, without knowing what's happening in the long run to business. So if that feedback doesn't come into the model could happily assume that whatever decisions the model is taking is good, and those biases can get even strengthened further, which is not good for overall business. Third, and this was a discussion happening last weekend, I was talking to a couple of people and we were trying to automate one engineering life cycle. And the question was, what happens if one day one of the agent or something is not working? So that's very important, because humans will just get used to agents doing the work for them, and I don't know what impact will that comfort have on competency. Will I lose my judgment skills? Will I lose my skills on how to do that task because I've not done it for a long time? So we need to be careful about that. Once in a while, I need to kind of, have a human kill switch off one agent or a workflow automation and bring back people to kind of do the job. Call it a decision fire drill, but that's absolutely necessary. And third is, you can have a lot of governances defined in the organization, policies defined in the organization, all the GRC controls defined in the organization on paper. So you have created a grand governance theater in your organization without its implementation. If that's not implemented, if that's not codified, I know it's a tough one to codify your governance mechanisms and policies, but without that, I think we run a risk of not having the right decision intelligence built into the organization.
So the three very, very important process that you have to follow to ensure that decision intelligence is adopted.
I have not predicted where the technology would be 5 years from now, but looking at where we are today, if we don't implement these, I think decision intelligence will not work.
Nice. Awesome. I think it's fantastic. I think I had a great talk on this. It was amazing to hear about it, especially bringing in that extra quantum part of it. It was interesting. Thank you, Gurbans. It was wonderful to have you here. And thank you. Looking forward to another podcast. See you guys soon.
Thank you, Purvi. It was a pleasure.